Well, welcome everybody. Corey, we're really happy to have you, and Bev and Deb. We're so thrilled to have you, Judy, speak with us. I've known you now for a couple of years, and I'm always touched by your grace. You're just such a kind and aware and caring human being. And I really am so touched by how you have stepped up to be an advocate for the children. And you've just been doing this for decades now. And just for those of you who do not know, Judy Julin, she's had over 30 years as an entrepreneur, and then just so much experience working with parents and teachers and children as a facilitator for life skills with children, as a working with parents and teachers to be a facilitator helping them, and then really creating WOW, which is a way to really think of this cutting edge education that really meets the children where they are and is authentic for them and engages them. And so I just really appreciate how you just really, I could trust with you that kids would just not memorize things or just go through the motions. Like, you're really wanting to have a genuine connection and to really meet them. And I would say, yeah, just see that they're truly engaged. And so tonight we get to hear more about how we can tune in to the frequency of children and really meet them where they're at. Is that true, Judy?
That's all true, Penelope. And I love your manner of speaking. You were one of our speakers also, and so authentic, so from the heart. It was so great when you spoke. So yes, everything you said, I believe is true, especially about WOW, which is WOW Learning Lab. And I'm talking tonight about frequency-based education. We'll get into that a little bit later. And I'm hoping, in my best intentions, to give us some practical, actually things that we can use, parents in the home, grandparents in the home, teachers in the schools, facilitators in homeschooling pods can really connect. And tonight we're talking specifically about teens. As we know, of course, we've talked in past speaker series that the teens have really we've all gone through challenging times in these last number of years, months. And the teens, especially given their maturation process and their highly sensitive natures and moving into adulthood, questioning what's going on in the world. You know, we're all questioning what's going on in the world. So hello there. Hi, Kat.
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful. So nice to have you join us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we're just going through a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to stop the share for a minute. Actually, let me see if I can pick this up. Oh, maybe I can't. Tell me if you can see the YouTube. Can you see that?
I see Marsha.
Okay, you see Marsha. Okay, let's stop the share. And I will now start the share again. So this is something that was really great because Beverly suggested that I start off. I don't know how we came to this. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, let me stop the share. Thank you, Deb. That Beverly and I were talking, I don't know when it was about share sound. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
That this is such a great way to start this segment. I'm honored to be the 9th speaker, believe it or not, Deb and Penelope and Beverly, in this particular series. It's called Teens, Tools, and Hope. We've had an incredible array of speakers. Yes? Oh, I thought someone was going to say something. Please feel free to talk and say whatever questions. But this is I'm the 9th speaker, and we've had so many incredible topics. We're going to bring up the screen in a little bit and show you all the different speakers that we've had. We've got 2 more speakers to come after me in 2 weeks and then 2 weeks. And then in August, we're going to have a teen panel, and it's going to be led by Lainey Liberty, who's an incredible transformational facilitator for teens, takes them all over the world, a world schooler, a friend of Beverly's, and now I consider her certainly a friend of mine. I think what she's doing for teens is marvelous. And so for right now, I'm going to pull this up, see if I can make it full screen, and just enjoy. Everybody here?
Oh, will you help me? Can you help me? You don't need to be helped any longer. You've always had the power to go back to Kansas. I have.
Then why didn't you tell her before?
Because she wouldn't have believed me. She had to learn it for herself.
What have you learned, Dorothy?
Well, I think that it wasn't enough just to want to see Uncle Henry and Auntie Em. And it's that if I ever go looking for my heart's desire again, I won't look any further than my own backyard. Because it isn't there. I never really lost it to begin with. Is that right? That's all it is.
But that's so easy. I should have thought of it for you. I should have felt it in my heart.
No, she had to find it out for herself. Now those magic slippers will take you home in 2 seconds. Oh.
So that's to bring us into a little bit of a, let me just turn that off 1 second. That's to bring us into a little bit of a reflective mindset for what we're going to be talking about tonight, because truly it is all inside of us. And, you know, interestingly enough, what we're going through today in the world, that people could tell us about it, but we really need to experience it. So that's what I'm hoping that I can, that's a great movie that just came on. I can really explain to you, and not just explain to you, but I really want you to have an experience tonight, an experience of what it means to connect frequency to frequency energetically. So we're going to go through some steps. I'm going to share my screen again. And let's see, this is the one I want to do. So happy to have everybody here tonight. Let's see here. Share screen. Okay, share sound. That's key, important point that we want to share sound. So can everybody see that? Yes? Awesome. Yeah. So I did an education workshop for the Truth Tour back in January. Deb was nice enough to accompany me on it and was incredibly supportive and really a co-presenter while I was doing it, because we went 9 cities in 5 days, and we talked about, this is an education workshop that I did, and it was about an hour. So it's kind of like what we're doing tonight, although I'll be adding a few other things in, and I'm talking specifically about teens tonight. But I wanted you to know that this is called an education workshop. I'm inviting parents and teachers and professionals, counselors, anybody that has anything to do with teens, to move the education experience in your mind and in your heart out of the school, out of the homeschool, and into a fluid 24/7, every single day is education. And parents certainly are the first and the most enduring teacher that our youth, our teens have. So we're going to go on an experiential journey tonight and see that as teachers of our youth, we can have the very best curriculum and the very best experiential learning for them. And how? We go back to the Wizard of Oz, because we have it inside of us. We don't need to bring, just as we say to our youth, you don't need to bring anything else to the table. As Reverend Leon Campbell said earlier in his talk about meeting teens where they are, let's see them as the butterfly, and let's bring our very best self, because truly, especially the children of today, as we'll learn, they're so sensitive and so intuitive that they know when our words don't match what we're feeling, or that there's a disconnect with authenticity. So they feel really more than they think with their minds. However, tonight, as Beverly and I had a talk earlier today, I think it was today, about the importance, and this is a key points that we're going to go over tonight, and that is the integration point between intuition, frequency-based education or frequency-based living or frequency-based relating to your teen, and critical thinking, because it's all important. So we can't just have one without the other, especially in this world that we're in. We need to critically think. We need to really hone and fine tune our intuition. Because if you think about it, that's really our rudder moving forward. I'm just going to tell you, I've been finding out that for the greater part of my adult life, things have not been as I thought they were. And perhaps I thought the people that were there to tell me the truth about reality maybe didn't have my best interests at heart. This isn't going to be a doom and gloom video right now, but I just want to say what I'm learning, what I've learned in the past couple of years, that I don't know that I can really look to those in authority, whether who they are, whether it's an MBA or a PhD behind their name, whether it's someone political, whether it's an entertainer. And by the way, I love Hollywood and I love celebrities, and I'm learning that the people that I put on a pedestal, and that's on me, I put them on the pedestal, although media helped me to put them on a pedestal, and peer support helped me to put them on a pedestal. But what I'm learning is I can no longer rely on that. And I'm an adult. And I'm thinking, what's the best gift I can give to the future leaders, our youth, our adolescents, our teens, is to let them know what I've learned. And because I'm learning and waking up probably maybe at the same time, before, after them, because they probably have known for quite some time that things just don't seem right. And fitting in, as we've talked about in earlier talks with the Teens, Tools, and Hope, is the power of social media, the power of addictive influences, especially on our teens and on us as well. So I'm inviting us through this education workshop to slow down, tune in, and use what I feel are the best purveyors of success moving forward. And that is frequency-based relating, fine-tuning our critical thinking skills, and our voice, speaking up. And Beverly is a great one, being a beloved activist in our midst, that we speak up. So those are the things that I think folded into a new education system will best serve our future leaders in our world. So it's coming down to frequency. Moving on. Oh, by the way, if anybody has any questions, anything you want to speak up, just raise your real hand or raise one of those cartoon hands that you have. So here is, can everybody see this? This is really great. These are some of our speakers on the Truth Tour. This is not on the Teens, Tools, and Hope, but interestingly enough, a lot of these people were in our speaker series, except for Beverly, and you haven't heard from Dr. Tongle yet, but I'm going to give you a little clip of Dr. Tongle's talk because it's about gift education. And you think, what the heck's gift education? Well, it's something that you might not realize, and it has a little something to do, I'll give you a little clue, a little something to do with what we talked about with Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, and that it's something that you always have with you. So this is something I'm not going to go over tonight. This is what I did on my Truth Tour, but it's a really great movie. It's a documentary. It's called Whose Children Are They? And it talks about government overreach in the schools. And that's really what inspired me. I mean, I've always been talking about this, but even more so, the state of the world and the government overreach in the schools is to empower our teachers, our parents, our adolescents to speak up, learn about what really feels good in your heart, fine-tune your intuition skills and your critical thinking skills. So I'm not going to play this tonight. It's a little clip, but it's Whose Children Are They? It's a really wonderful movie that talks about the current system in the schools, which I know a lot of you know about. Just a little bit about myself. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and that's how I know Deborah Coyle, who is also working with WOW. we knew each other in Pittsburgh. I had a spiritual awakening in 1980. You can read about it in my book that I'm happy to gift anybody that would be interested in it. Just let me know and I'll mail you a copy. It's called Romancing the Future. And I launched Kids at Heart health clubs for kids in the 80s. What do you mean health clubs for kids? It's really what I'm talking about today. It's about intuition training. They didn't talk a lot about it in the 80s. Healthy foods, empowerment, kindness, manners. So that was that part. And then I moved to California. I had a wonderful married life. And in 2003, I threw everything in my car and moved, drove across America, moved to Carlsbad, California, which Beverly knows. And I developed Deepak Chopra's children's program that was based on my children's program in the 80s. I went off to start a business that was called Cosmic Kids, and I launched it in Hollywood, Tarzana, and Mumbai, India, believe it or not. Anybody has any questions of this stuff, you can always be in touch with me. I'm happy to let you know. Let me just check something. Did I start the recording? I'm not sure that I did. I'm going to stop this share for a minute. I did. Yippee. Okay, now I'll go back to sharing. Whew. Okay. Okay, so now we're in 2012. Mickey Willis, who you might know, is the filmmaker behind The Great Awakening. It just launched. He and Del Bigtree had a huge event in Texas. And Deb and I interviewed him for our Inspired Parenting magazine back in 2012 with his two young boys who are now close to being older adolescents. But I just to let you know that I've been in this business of parenting, youth empowerment, and educational reform for many, many years. So we founded the Wild Nonprofit in 2015. We went to Croatia, of all places, with Mind Valley in 2019 for 1 month with over 160 kids ages 2 through 17. That was a wild and wonderful time. And then we had a wonderful youth, teen and parent program with Penelope and Beverly and Deb with Children's Health Defense in 2012. And it was called the Teen Freedom Fest, Create Your World. And that's that. Now on to the subject at hand. So frequency-based education. Everybody can see that. And you know, we're talking about frequency, and I think everybody that's on this particular Zoom tonight is well aware that energy is everywhere. Energy is everything. We are in a quantum reality now. There's quantum entanglement. These are words that we're all familiar with these days, and no one's really talking about it specifically within the arena of education. Now, remember, when I said education, we're talking about relating. We're talking about communicating. We're talking about home life, school life, playground life, grocery store life, camp life, homeschooling, pod life. It's everywhere. So education is out of the bounds of the four walls of the school, and it comes into our offices. It comes into anywhere you want to be, anywhere you're living and existing is education. It's all around us. And what I'm asking us to do is to explore the possibility. And we've heard about holistic education. We've heard about holistic living. What if we really, really chose to bring it down to that granular quantum level that we're existing in these days and talking about with Tesla energy and quantum financial systems and all these things that are in our midst right now? And what if we looked at education in the same way? So the three things that I'm going to be talking about tonight, these are the three areas of frequency-based education. And that's frequency sensing, slowing down, tuning into self and others. I talked a little bit about that earlier when we talk about intuition, frequency matching, youth-led, passion-driven, intention-based. And that's also a little bit of what our former speaker, Leon Campbell Jr. talked about with frequency matching, meet the teens where they are. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. It's as simple as it could be. My dear friend and former neighbor, Julie Manor, she loved Roblox. And no one would really, her mom was pretty busy and a big corporate executive and didn't often have time to explore Roblox. She just knew Julie liked it. A lot of people have negative connotations about gaming, especially for that age of 11 years old. So I had produced what was called the Judy and Julin show. We had 8 episodes. It's online. You can see it on my YouTube channel. It's really cute. But what I would do was ask Julie about Roblox. Show it to me. Let's play it together. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? And so that's about frequency matching. She was kind of leading the direction. She's a little bit preteen, but certainly, as Deb knows, she's a teenager and moving into her 20s pretty fast. So when I talk about her, it's very, very germane for teens in general, because what is she interested in? She loved fidgets. So we used to play fidgets all the time together, and we put it into our Judy and Julin show. And I talked to her about intentions, and we're going to talk about intentions later too, and affirmations, because when you mix heart-centered intentions and affirmations with critical thinking, with intuition-based living, to me, it's a recipe for a really grand experience called life. And it leaves the door open for wonder and whimsy, which is why we call our nonprofit World of Wonder. It's about the whimsy and wonder in the world. Let's get that back in our education system, which, as we're learning, is in the home, in the school, it's everywhere. It's at the gas station. And frequency honoring. And this is something that I really feel strongly about. And I actually witnessed it when I got to know Lainey Liberty, who was another one of our speakers, thanks to Beverly and Penelope. And she really honors the teens. She takes them on trips all over the world. She's a world schooler. She left when her son was 8 years old and said, let's get out of this place. Let's travel the world. And what can we learn from an experiential immersion in other cultures? And so she really, I've watched her. She does an incredible immersive journey with the teens. And it's, I can't think of the name of it. Beverly, can you remember the name of it? She's taken them on like a journey, and you go through
the hero's journey, but
hero's journey.
transformative.
Yeah, thank you. That's it. So she takes them on the hero's journey, but that's all about trust. It's about relationship building, and it's about transparency and consistency. And again, as we're learning as parents, teachers, and professionals, if we're not authentic, they tune out, or they act out, or they go into their shell, or they don't want to engage. So it behooves us, it behooves me, I'll speak of, to really work. It's an inside job. I'm going to just say it. Frequency-based education, frequency-based relating to the teens in our midst is an inside job, and it's within us. And that's what can cause the greatest opportunity for engagement and authentic, realistic connection that I think is a cornerstone of a brave and grand new world. So those are the 3 things. And as I mentioned before, think about this. Emotions are an extraordinary expression of energy. So it's about the vibe. We talk about vibes. I showed the vibe in my promotion for tonight's work. It's about the vibe or the frequency that we give off. And part of what I'm going to talk about tonight are these practical ways to read emotions, which involves slowing down. And that's the first part that we're going to talk about, is the frequency sensing. And I really want us to say yes to the messages our bodies give us. And that's much easier to do when we slow down and tune into self and others. And it's, if anyone's done any improv, I did that in my early years in Hollywood, took some improv classes, believe it or not. And it's about saying yes. Say yes to everything. And that's what they do on stage. And that's what improv is the backbone of. And certainly we would encourage and invite our youth to, you want to say these things to anyone with a little bit of a tempered outlook. We do want to say yes to everything. I myself love to be alone and sometimes aren't as social oftentimes that I'd like to be, which I know sounds kind of unusual, but it's really true. I mean, I love my time alone. And I want to start saying yes more to things that I might not really want to do. Like, do I really want to go to the mountains and there's snakes and spiders? I don't know. I just was invited tonight, but I'm going to start to take a little more risk. And that's all about saying yes. So I'm going to invite all of us to say yes a little bit more to opportunities and new experiences in our midst. So we're going to talk about creating compatible relationships with the teens in our midst. So we're going to talk about five points, and these are all under frequency sensing, slowing down, tuning into self and others. Number one, sensing people's presence. So this is like the overall energy that we emit. And we talk about an auric field if people are into chakras or, people, you can feel people when, especially we or those that are already doing energy work, healers, Reiki, feng shui. I'm a feng shui consultant. So we talk a lot about the energies within a home. And you can tell yourself if you go into a room and there's been an argument, you can feel it. I have my sage, so I take that around and I sage, and so those energies go away. And I have intention, which is another thing we're going to talk about. But it's really important to pay attention to the frequencies in our midst. So you think about someone who's got great charisma. I know we were on the golf course the other day, and there was a young man, a golfer, who met you with a smile and shook your hand and looked you in the eyes. And I thought, wow, there's someone with a great sense of charisma, and you could sense his presence. So when you're slowed down, you're able to sense someone's presence. The second thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about was watching people's eyes. So we know people, and I'm one of them from time to time, that wears sunglasses a lot. And I like it. I like to, now I'm learning that it's better to not wear sunglasses and not put on sunscreen, as Penelope could probably tell us from a long time ago, because the sun is great for your eyes and your skin. It's not something that we want to block out. But nonetheless, when people have sunglasses on, you can't really see their eyes. And of course, we've heard that the eyes are the gateway to the soul. So eyes, in addition to just presence, transmits powerful energies. And, just the glance itself. And as we know, again, emotions are a stunning expression of our energy. And, the vibe that we give off, we register it with our intuition. And so this is what we talked about a little bit before, and that is really paying attention to your intuition. And sometimes some people feel intuition differently. Like I feel my intuition in my gut sometimes. And there are others that feel it in their mind or their heart or tingling sensations in their body. And these are really great exercises to do with the teens in your midst, is to, play a game blindfolded and have a little story told by someone. And where do you feel it? In your gut, or sometimes you can feel it in two places, but it's to slow down and tune into yourself and start to realize how your body speaks to you. And as one of our former speakers in the Teens Tools and Hope, who's joining us tonight, Penelope, she talks about that when you're learning about what's good for you to ingest in your body. She talked about food, mood, and more, and how food affects your mood, and your mood affects your ability to slow down and tune into self and others. So when we're talking about frequency sensing, it's really about paying attention to yourself. And remember, I said this is an inside job. Well, it really is. It's about what's going on within me. Now, I want to digress a little bit, yet it's certainly germane to the topic we're on. And that is when we tune into our bodies, or we're tuning into the youth in our midst, sometimes things may block it. That is the big word that begins with a J and it ends with a T, and it's called judgment. So past experiences or judging what's really going on kind of clouds what's in the midst. So you want to have as a crystal clear experience as possible. So we're going to do a little exercise later. I wrote it down. It was a daily affirmation about suspending judgment. And this is something that you can do. Like I'm going to suggest that we do it for a week. And you can write these affirmations in the morning once you're already slowed down because you're starting your day. And I invite you to tune into yourself in the quiet of your morning and set some affirmations. And of course, as we probably know, affirmations are always written in the present tense and positive. I like to date them and sign them. And of course, as a feng shui consultant, I put them in special places in my home or on my desk that are good energy centers for relationship or children or creativity. But that's a whole other story. But I'm going to give us some specific affirmations and intentions to set for 1 week to see what magic can occur or shift in relating or even experiencing the teens in your midst. Excuse me. So when we're talking about the energy in people's eyes, I think everybody will agree with me that emotional intelligence and energy is contagious. So that's another aspect when I want to do the inner work and be the very best that I can be, that if I want to have, people say I want to do good in the world. And of course, I've started a nonprofit. It's about education, all positive things. And that's great. However, if I don't go in and do my work and exude or give off or radiate that which I'm proposing, then there's a mismatch. And not only do I feel it, but the people that I work with feel it. And the people that are the end user, those beloved teens or their parents or teachers feel it too. So today, and of course, Beverly is also into marketing, the best marketing that we can do, and we're going to have a marketing meeting about our speaker series, but I don't know if I told you this, Beverly, but the best marketing that we can do is be authentic, because you can have all kinds of brand. Well, I love branding, but branding and this slogan and that slogan. But if you don't deliver in an authentic way these days, I believe authenticity really rules the roost. And I believe that our teens are really good. I had a former colleague, she used to call it a typo in her tummy. And we can call it a BS meter, but she would say, I just have like a typo in my tummy about that. And you know what? She felt and read energy in her gut, as do I. So we really want to be able to open up to reading emotions, because, well, welcome to it. We're moving in, if we're not already there, into a 5D experience and existence. And that means you really can't, if you've got some things to handle within yourself, it's going to keep coming up until we look at it. I'm not just saying you, believe you me, I know it for myself, that existence on this planet Earth is a great teacher for us. We talk about frequency-based education. Well, it's an education for me. And really, ultimately, that's really who it's for. But along the way, why don't I cause a lot of love and joy and connection by doing these things myself so that I can bring my best to the world? So I mentioned to say yes to the messages that your body sends. And your mind, and you probably know this already, sometimes your mind likes to talk you out of things. And for better or for worse, our good friend, and I think it is a friend, the ego, when it's used in a manner that serves the higher purpose. But the mind and the intellect can talk you out of your intuitive leanings. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because we're saying that critical thinking is important. So I'd like to, anybody that wants to chime in about this and the differences between critical thinking and how important that is today, intuition as a rudder and a guidepost. These are two kind of seemingly different things, but they're both incredibly powerful tools to be sharpened and honed and fine-tuned to keep in our toolbox always, to be able to be brought out at any time that we need them. So again, I want to say yes to the messages that your body sends you. When we talk about taking time to observe other people's eyes, you can go into a little more depth about that. Looking into their eyes, are they sad? Are they caring? Are they interested? Are they other focused? We know of people in our midst that kind of there's a vacant glare. That could be for a number of reasons. But if you have a question and you're taking the time to really look and connect at someone and listening to your body's signals, then you can really begin to trust that and ask. And that's another aspect of frequency-based education, is when you ask, how do you hear it? Sometimes you hear it in a vision, sometimes you hear it in a download, sometimes you hear it, what I like to call thought packages, that I get a complete thought package that sometimes that's even challenging to share with another, but nonetheless, I got it. And sometimes when I try to share it, it doesn't come out. And then I think, well, maybe that was just for me. And maybe when I share it, it loses its potency. So sometimes don't share. Sometimes keep that thought package and its rich potency within you to serve yourself, which in effect will serve our teens. The third aspect of frequency sensing, slowing down and tuning into self and others, is to notice the feel. So this is a sensory experience, yet it can be translated into an energetic and frequency experience. Notice the feel of a hug and touch. So we share emotional energy through physical contact, much like an electrical current. And you've felt that many times, I'm sure. And does it feel warm and confident and comfortable, or is it off-putting? People's hands, sometimes if you're shaking their hands, can be clammy, and maybe they're anxious. So we want to really pay attention to how things feel as well. And another aspect of frequency sensing, the fourth aspect actually, is, oh, wait, before we go on to that, I want to just talk about when you're doing these frequency activities, frequency techniques, you want to, if you're going to be working on the frequency level, the quantum level, which is very, very potent, especially these days, if you've been watching the Schumann resonance, it's really, really incredible, that you want to protect yourself. And we as the Wizard of Oz showed us, it's all within us. And sometimes we can't be told it, we have to experience it. So I'm inviting you to start to really consider going deeply into your experiences and feeling what that's like. And if it doesn't feel good, that's a good indicator that, oh, perhaps I should have protected myself. Simple things to protect yourself. Surround yourself in a sweet, white, beautiful bubble. If your whatever your religious predilections are, to pray, to meditate, to set an intention before you go into a meeting. I surround myself, and sometimes what I used to do, surround yourself with a white light. If I was really going into an incredible situation, I would imagine myself in a mirrored bubble, so that the outside of the bubble was a reflective, kind of like that we have to put on our windshield now in Arizona because it deflects the sun because it's so darn hot here. So it's the same thing that you do to protect yourself when you're working on these frequency levels, and that is to imagine yourself, because any negativity would be reflected, would be deflected. And it's also a good idea to set the intention. I'm protected. I'm calm. I'm grounded. Hugely important. It's great to go outside and do some earthing in your bare feet and ground to the universe, ground to nature and all of its incredible frequencies. So fourth, I don't think I mentioned this. We've got two more, and I'm going to scoot along because we've got some other things to do. And that is listening for people's tone and laugh. So we're using all the senses. We're listening, we're feeling, we're sensing, we're watching. So we, as the point of initiation, are using all of our senses to slow down and tune into self and others. So it's listening for the tone. And I know in my own life, I'm very affected by tone. God bless my husband. He's now in heaven. And he, sometimes his tone would be off. And I know that when you're living with people, you can, and he didn't understand it. And it wasn't really his fault because he didn't know it, but it affects me. And I think it's up to us to say, that affects me in this way. And then they can have the choice to continue on with it. At least I've done my part, because once I say something, it's up to them to care about it and care enough about me to maybe be a little more sensitive. So we're getting down to the frequencies, and it's all about being very specific, even as we set our intentions, because we live in a very, very responsive universe. And what we say and what we feel, especially when we say and we feel matched together, and that feeling is one of love and connection and unity and truth and justice, then it's a wonderful recipe for creating not only the world that we want, but being a beautiful and empowered mentor in the midst of our teens. So listen for people's voice and tone. And then the fifth one is my most important one in slowing down, and that is sensing people's heart energy. And we know this, we feel it. We learn this young with our parents and getting into romantic relationships, having friendships, that heart. With the exercises that I'm going to invite us to do for a week, whenever you want to do it, you can be in touch with me, but I'm going to give you, and I can write this down and send it to you if you want, but I have a little exercise for us for a week. And these are daily affirmations. And I'd like you to do it just for a week, and do it in the mornings when you wake up and you're fresh. And it's all about frequency sensing and frequency matching and frequency honoring. We didn't talk that much about matching and honoring, but we're going to talk about it now. But those are the components of this education model, which is really a living model, a lifestyle model. Here's the daily affirmation. Remember, it's always in the affirmative. It's always positive. It's in the first person. And I like to assign it in my signature and date it. You can do whatever you like. Every day for 7 days. I easily sense, now let's put somebody's name in here, Tony. I easily sense Tony's energies and lovingly match and understand their frequency and truly honor their energies without judgment. Let me go over that again. We're using Tony, I don't know why. I easily sense Tony's energies and match and understand his frequency and truly honor his energy without judgment. Now, you might not understand what that might mean in your life. And here's the fun thing. It's going to be like a little journey, a little excitement, a little fun adventure you're going to go on. Who knows what's going to pop up? I also invite you for that 1 week to write down any little thing. Oh, Tony, I never knew this about him, but he's got this sense of humor and he speaks that way. Or, oh, I was watching something in a movie. And so I just invite you to, because the more we notice, when we do these affirmations and intentions and things happen and change, and the more we honor them and write them down and say, oh, it opens a portal that there'll happen more, and we'll be even more amazed and even more inspired. So it's about daily affirmations, setting intentions, seeing what magic happens, and just keep a little journal during the course of the week so that you can honor things that come up in that midst. Any questions thus far? I know we're going over some fun things, but
Yeah, I love this so much. And I did want to say that it's 7:46. So I didn't know at what point you wanted to have our Q&A or how you want to do that.
thank you, Penelope. I'm usually the one that says that, and I forgot. So I'm going to whiz through this really quickly. So now we have, that was that. Oh, by the way, this guy here is Weston Schmeier. He's a nonverbal. He's probably in his 20s now. He used to always wear his clothes backwards. He always was in his bare feet, never spoke. And that was he and I in my blonde hair days. We were in a forest. And that to me is the epitome of frequency connection, because he was talking to me and I was talking to him, and there were no words said. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. And along those lines, another great movie for you to watch, and I just happened to be in it. It was called Indigo Evolution. It's Neil Donald Walsh back in 2006. That's before I don't even think I opened Cosmic Kids in Hollywood yet. But that is a really great documentary. It's all about frequency relating, and it's the kids vibrate at a particular frequency. And this particular documentary talks about the amazing spiritual and intuitive abilities. And I'm saying, take a look at this. And why don't we pattern our educational models based on the understanding of frequencies? This one, I'm not going to go on because it's too long, but it's a little video. And it talks about Dr. Marsha Tongol, who's coming on in 2 weeks. And she talks about gift education, and that's yours truly there. But I think you'll be very surprised about what gift education is, what her thoughts are, and how we can begin to bring it into our home life. And what's new? We're redefining, if you hadn't guessed it already, the way the world learns, plays, and works together, co-creating, important point, with youth, the future of education, to discover their true self and my true self and the relationship with the world. That's what WOW does. And if you'd like to be in touch, there's my phone number, email, website, social media. I'm going to stop this share. And I'm going to start another share, believe it or not, just when you think I'm done, but I'm not quite yet. Wait, let me find this. Nope, that's not it. That's it. Okay, stop share. I'm going to start share again. Hey, does anybody have any questions? Because I could do it while I'm doing this. Can you see that? That's our speaker list coming up. Yes, excuse me.
No, I was just saying, yeah, we have time. Don't feel like you had to cut off what you were, finishing up with your.
Well, I think that's it. That's a week-long practice that I invite you to do. You'll be surprised, amazed, and delighted, and you can share it with your friends. In 2 weeks, on July 11th, I can't even believe I'm saying that month, is my good friend, Dr. Marsha Tongol. She was supposed to be tonight, but she's a little bit under the weather. And then on July 25th, Anthony Asher, who I met through Penelope Sullivan, I believe, is going to come on and talk about EMFs, which I know a little bit about with regards to my feng shui schooling and certification. And then the team panel comes mid-August. I leave the floor open to anybody.
So, Judy?
Yes?
So it was great to hear about these affirmations. And what I'm coming to listening to all this is I love the idea to kind of, if you're a parent and you have a teen, that you're going to first, you tune in, you connect, and you ground yourself, I think you're trying to say, and then we could use these tools to connect with our teens. And teens a lot of times really want to be seen, and I like the idea to be felt. I think teens do want to be felt. So we a lot of times when it's seen, understood, but it's true to connect into that other level where you're thinking, okay, I'm about to walk by my teen's room. I'm about to feel an energy. And instead of a reaction, that we can take the time to stop, tune into ourself, kind of ground ourselves, and then think about those levels that we didn't normally think about that might be triggering us, but also to understand where they're coming up from and where they're at the time with the matching. And then I do like really the honoring, and there would be that disengaging, the triggering, and then to be able to start to either realize that you're like, this isn't the time I should be walking in or engaging with my child, or I have slowed down and I can engage with my child right now, and I can match and honor, and that your child is going to feel it too. And it's going to be a receptive, so I really like that idea, because I think parents really are being triggered, because right now we're having a lot of just what's going on in the world, and teens and all that they've been through, and they're also trying to get their wings and get away from us at the same time. But I think that feeling, I think, is a great other level that we need to connect with them. So I appreciate that, to start thinking in those terms. So I don't really have a question. I'm just kind of
I love that. Yeah, thank you,
regurgitating.
Beverly. I think
Mhm.
that everything that you said, I loved. And I would and also invite anybody who heard that, as well as yourself and myself, is to notice. All we have to do is notice. Notice if our old friend, Mr. Judgment, pops in. And we don't have to do anything about it. We don't have to berate ourselves. We don't have to be upset that we did it. But it's like, oh, interesting. I'm looking at that through a judgment lens. And you don't even have to say, oh, how do I stop that? All you have to do is notice it. And that's okay. And it might happen again, but just the art of noticing, because I don't know about you, but there's many, many, many things that I never noticed before. And that's what we call enlightened awareness. It's not like we have to have all the answers. Just be aware of it. It's like, interesting.
But being aware with your intuition, and kind of making that connection, I think is, and to sense that, I think is a really has not been explored or thought about a lot of times in parenting. And I appreciate being able to start thinking those terms.
Well, thank you, Beverly. Hello, Penelope.
Hi, thank you so much for everything. I would like to ask your opinion on something. You know how teens sometimes have that wall up in the beginning. And I love just some ideas around, meeting that precious heart underneath that wall and not really taking that wall personally.
I got such a thought package as you were talking that I can't wait to share it with you. I often feel that the youth in our midst are our teachers. And we say that, and we might, understand that. But what if that teen in your midst has a wall up, and it might be about them? Let's just say it might be about them. I'm not going to go there, though. I'm going to go there that it's about you, and not in a negative way. But let's say your teen was born to you, and let's say that you, Penelope, for whatever reason in your life, might have walls up with respect to whatever, a romance, finance, new adventures, deservedness, who knows what, we don't know. But let's just say that could be. And let's say that this teen in your midst, who you love and he loves you, has a wall up, and you see how that feels. And you see how you want to get to that tenderness behind that. What if that's the universe talking to you, that they want your tenderness and for you to reconsider your walls, because it's a loving, responsive universe. And that teen, as a soul, loves you so much that they're willing to come in and play that role to show you, and maybe that's what we're asking to do tonight, is look at things creatively and see things kind of out of the box.
You're going to get me all teary.
It's
Thanks.
just something to think about.
I think that's very sweet and
Yeah.
powerful, really.
Very. That's what, but quite honestly, it's what I believe. I believe that these teens, that sometimes they push our buttons, but in your way, it's a sweet thing. It's a sweet thing that you see that heart underneath, and you see that wall, and you wonder why. And what if that was the universe asking you that? So it would be very interesting for you to think about that and consider it just in your musings and your time alone, what I said to you. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to figure it out. But what if just considering it and opening up to that might reflect with that teen in your midst and that wall dissolving and you actually seeing that heart? Do you know what I'm saying?
And also what you remind me of is just trust, because I think that being a mother is so important to me. And I think that I sort of feel a pressure sometimes to be really engaged with Nelson, for instance. And one time we were just driving in the car, and instead of forcing a conversation or filling up the silence, our conversation just sort of slowly unfolded. And he brought up oh my God, I can't even believe I forget his name. Who created Tesla? I'm so sorry that Elon Musk. And Nelson, of course, likes him because he's just very
brilliant.
well, and when he's questioned people, if they can't back up there was one young man, I think, that really critiqued him. And he said, can you give me one example of how I did that? It was just very logical. And he doesn't really get flustered. And Nelson just started laughing about that. And it naturally unfolded. And it's that trust of just that it can naturally unfold, without forcing it.
And that's a really good, if you just take that sound bite that you just said there, Penelope, that I like to take things from this experience. And if I take just that if I trust in life, if I, Judy, trust and let things unfold, believe me, what's going on now in my world and in the geopolitical realm, it's craziness. But if I, Penelope, can take from you and just trust. So what if not only are our teens or our children mirrors for our experience, and it's really about us, what if this entire talk tonight is for each individual? So what if the whole reason for this was for me to get that insight and that epiphany from what you just said, to allow me to carry on in my life and daily existence a little lighter, a little more trusting, and let the world events unfold, Judy. So, I think that's why when I talk about 24/7 education, we're learning all the time. Let's get out of those four walls of the one-room schoolhouse, and we're all learning all together, all abilities, all the time, always.
Well, it's been
I love
great.
you all.
It's been a great, yeah.
It's been powerful. Go ahead, Penelope.
I just want to say, Kat, you look amazing for being a grandmother. I mean, the fact that you have a 28-year-old child sort of blows me away.
Well, thank you. My dad is Hawaiian Chinese, and my mom is Norwegian and English, like from England. So I think it's just the Asian. I think that's where I got it from. I'm really thankful for that. But thank you.
And then I was just going to
Everyone, it was it was wonderful.
I
It was
agree.
really
you.
wonderful.
Kat, please be in touch with me. I'd love to be on your show. And
Great.
awesome.
All right. Have a good evening, everybody.
Blessings.
Thanks,
ladies.
Blessings.